Now, first I want to begin with a humble appeal to the youth. There is so much out there that is interesting but can consume your life. Over the weekend, we lost young people in an accident who are going for a tour. You know, these days in promotion of domestic tourism, the number of tours. Now, that is a group of youth, but just look at someone driving that drone. You see? You're on top of the car, so many of you, like you can see them, and someone is driving in that manner. That drone later had an accident because when he did that zooming of the drone, he failed to balance it. Now, many are injured, and of course, the death also occurred. So you're young, but think about your future, think about your parents, because it is common sense that you cannot sit on a car like that.
Right.
No matter how entertaining it is.
You
and
don't luggage.
it is common sense that you can't drive like that when you have people on top of that vehicle. So we lost, and many are still nursing serious injuries. By the way, we pray for them, we pray for their families, that the Lord may encourage them. Now, that is just a word to the young people. We need you. You mean a lot to this country, but let you not be taken by entertainment. Now, going back to the Narukola case, allow me briefly read through the judgment. Right. It was a 50-page document, but at least let's just pick the gist now. This court has reached the decision to set aside the election of Luyimba's Elias Narukola as a member of parliament for Kawempe Division North constituency for two main reasons. Now, these are the two main reasons that the judge, Bernard Namanya, gave. One, 16,064 voters in the constituency, including Farida Nambi Chigongo, were denied a right to vote, which affects the results of the election in a substantial manner. Now, these are 14 polling stations, if we remember very well, in Kawempe, where the votes there did not happen because of violence. They were not counted. Reason two, Luyimba's Elias Narukola personally campaigned on election day at Imbogo Primary School playground, AKT to MAJ, and Kazo Angola, KAL to KZ. Now, these are polling stations, how they are named.
Right.
Because when you go to vote, they'll tell you, if your name starts with the K, those of K you're here, those of S. So these are the various grounds where he campaigned. Now, these are contrary. So there were two grounds that court saw. One, the 16,064 voters that they believe, because remember, this election had a low voter turnout. But the court believes that maybe if these people voted, a huge percentage could have voted in favor of Nambi, and maybe she would have attained her victory. Remember, Elias Narukola won with 17,764 votes, and Farida Nambi got 8,593 votes. Now, perhaps if the 16,640 votes, maybe half of these were for Farida Nambi and added here, they'll tremendously change the outcomes of the election. But also, away from that, when you commit an electoral offense, because now we can say court confirmed Elias Narukola committed an electoral offense.
Right.
Even if there has not been any problem with the voting, but there is evidence that you committed an electoral offense, court can nullify that election and call for by-election. Now, here is the interesting part of this entire court ruling. One, our viewer, you must be well aware that's becoming a tradition for people to appeal. Many will appeal, and Elias Narukola said, his lawyer said he's going to appeal. Now, according to Article 91 of the laws that govern parliamentary election, and in this country, you cannot hold a by-election 6 months to elections. And according to the Electoral Commission program, if you remember, we have, I think, the Electoral Commission chairperson said it very clearly. 12th July is when these activities kick off. Now, when you make a calculation, Narukola has about a month, if it's smart enough and works on time, to appeal, because there are processes you go through. You have about 7 days to write a notice of appeal. Then there are other procedures. So he can do that within a month. Now, the court where his appeal has to be listened to usually takes, on normal occasions, takes 3 months. Now, if you look at 3 months, if they hurry so much, it may take 2 months. Still, all will end when there is no time for by-election.
At that time, it will be 6 months already.
Now, what happens? It means if Narukola appeals, he's going to remain in parliament until the end, until time catches up. And majestically, I don't see Narukola failing to appeal.
Right.
So he will remain. There are very few chances that Narukola cannot appeal, and therefore the Electoral Commission can go ahead and organize a by-election. However, this may not be the first time in our history that we see a by-election in a by-election. If you remember, in 2011 and 2016, people of Luwero witnessed where I had a general election, then we had a by-election and another by-election that saw Brennan Abukenya come to parliament. So one of the things, this is a very interesting case, but I highly doubt Honorable Elias Narukola not appealing, and I highly doubt if the process of appeal can be concluded
in the shortest time
in the shortest time, and time does not catch up with this. So Farida Nambi could have won the battle, but lost the war.
Right. Very interesting perspective from Robert, indeed. Like I said, we have about 8 months until January next year. But as is the process, well, 6 months maybe is indeed in the shortest time possible to come. But also looking at issues that can build you, more of them that is, Broadcast and Digital Media Convention 2025 is here, and it's starting on the 27th day of May, which is today, at 4 Points Hotel. The key speaker of this convention is Winston Agaba David from Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Now, this is one you need to be a part of, and the best way to be a part of it is by simply registering via the link eastafrica.broadcastmedia.net. That is eastafrica.broadcastandmedia.net/East Africa Convention.2025.com, happening at 4 Points Hotel, starting today until tomorrow. As you can see there, Dr. Lawrence, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo, amongst the speakers of the day. Now, with that being said, let's have a look at what is on the local scene. Robert.
Well, we begin with the Vice President, where the Vice President, Major Retired Jessica Alupo, together with the Poverty Alleviation Program of State House, delivered hybrid goats to farmers in Katakwi District. Alupo also visited previous beneficiaries of the program in Akoleng Village and Neyeng Parish, Balam Sub-County in Ngaramam County. She observed that farmers have demonstrated success in creating wealth through hard work. Meanwhile, speaking to the beneficiaries in Angodingodi Parish, Alupo praised President Museveni for the prevailing peace in Karamoje and efforts to end cattle theft in Teso and neighboring region. She called upon the people to fight poverty in their communities. Alupo also encouraged the communities to construct granaries to keep food and fight food insecurity, emphasizing that no one from the outside community will develop it apart from the community members themselves. She also called upon the district leadership to bring information about government programs, particularly road construction, to the people, which will ease access to markets, healthcare, and education. The Vice President highlighted several development initiatives underway in Katakwi District, including the 1 billion shillings sent to the district for road infrastructure. She emphasized the importance of good road network in the communities for ease access to services and markets. Alupo also encouraged large-scale growing of cassava, citing its diverse usages, including medicinal, food, and starch. Mixed reactions are emerging as High Court in Kampala ordered fresh elections in Kawempe North. During the March 13th by-election, NUP's Elias Narukola beat NRM's Farida Nambi. Nambi petitioned court and Judge Bernard Namanya's ruled cited electoral malpractices. On 26th March 2025, Elias Narukola was sworn in as elected member of parliament for Kawempe Division North, replacing the late Mohamed Segirinya. This followed the by-election held on the 13th of March 2025, where the NUP's Narukola Elias got 17,664 votes and Topo driver Farida Nambi, who secured 8,593 votes. In the by-election, where violence scenes after security operatives dubbed Jaref surrounded some polling stations, injuring the crowds, including journalists. These and many scenes were the grounds which NRM's Farida Nambi collected to make her case in the petition before the High Court. 62 days after Narukola's being sworn in, High Court Judge Bernard Namanya cancelled his stay in Parliament. The ruling leaves many dissatisfied. The order declares the Kawempe Division North MP seat vacant few months to the general elections. Preparations are in high gear at the Namugongo Catholic Shrine ahead of the 2025 Martyrs' Day celebrations slated for June 3rd. Pilgrims say it is the unwavering faith, determination, and sacrifice of the martyrs that inspire them to make the long journey each year. The parish priest of Namugongo, Reverend Father Vincent Lubega, has assured the public of tight security measures, ensuring pilgrims do not get any problem or worry. Countdown to 3rd June Martyrs' Day at Namugongo Catholic Shrine. There are general cleaning, construction, and electrical installations. These are final touches as pilgrims arrive. The parish priest at Namugongo Catholic site, Father Vincent Lubega, told UBC that over 100 pilgrims have arrived by last night. We sought a gap of 25 pilgrims from Soroti Diocese who were with an 80-year-old Edot Raymond, the 14-day walk experience at Namugongo, and how they felt about it. The pilgrims from Karamoja were Amor Emmanuel, and he said that after last year's pilgrim, he was very much blessed and had to make it even this year. And finally, from the local scene, Ministry of Health and Association of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of the Uganda Association are concerned over the increasing cases of fistula. An estimate of 1,900 new cases of fistula were registered and are registered every day. The primary cause of the prolonged problem is labor, leading to tissue damage and formation of an abnormal opening of the woman's birth canal, bladder, or rectum, leading to uncontrolled leakages of urine. In Uganda, an estimated 1,900 cases of fistula are recorded every year, while at least 200,000 women and girls are living with the condition. Expectant mothers are advised to utilize antenatal care services and deliver from health facilities. Uganda will mark the International Day to End Fistula on the 31st of May this very year at the Mayor's Gardens, Lila City, on the theme Her Health, Her Right, Shaping a Future Without Fistula. The day creates awareness about fistula, care, treatment, and prevention. Well, statistics are not that very, very good at all.
Definitely
yes,
so.
About 200,000 women live with this condition.
Right.
Yet we can't avoid it if they give birth in the hands of well-educated and professional midwives and doctors, but also antenatal care. So men, support your women, support them to go for this care because it prevents so much, not only fistula.
And antenatals are not attended by the women alone. men also attend
Men
antenatal.
have to be supportive.
Right.
Many fear there because when they are told to go for a blood test, that's when they feel the fear. So they rather not risk and wait. When the woman comes back positive, indeed, the husband is also aware he's positive, forgetting they are discordant couples.
Wow. Anyways, we shall, I choose to reserve comments on that. Let's move on to what is on the foreign scene. And we're starting off from the UK in Liverpool. 4 children are among the dozens of people injured after a car plowed into a crowd at the Liverpool FC parade. 27 people were taken to hospital and 2 suffered serious injuries, including 1 child, the North West Ambulance Service said. A 53-year-old white British man has been arrested and is believed to be the driver of the vehicle, Merseyside police said. The incident is not being treated as terrorism, authorities say. Thousands of people were on the city's streets for Liverpool FC's Premier League victory parade, and the club has offered its full support to the emergency service. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the scenes in Liverpool are appalling and thanks emergency services for their swift response. Images of the horror on Water Street cover Tuesday's front pages, and the Daily Telegraph headlines their story with Liverpool glory turns into horror, as it features a photo of an injured person being wheeled away on a stretcher by paramedics. Carnage at the parade leads the Daily Mail and is paired with an image of the car plowing into a crowd of Liverpool supporters. Elation, then horror, declares the Daily Mirror. Now, as we pray for what happened in Liverpool and over every victim, let's move on to what is happening in Gaza. At least 54 Palestinians have been killed, most of them in a school building sheltering displaced families during Israeli airstrikes on Gaza overnight, hospital directors have told the BBC. Fahmy Al-Jagawi School is in Gaza. Gaza City was housing hundreds of people from Beit Lahia, currently under intense Israeli military assault. At least 35 were reported to have been killed when the school was hit. Gaza's Hamas-run civil defense said multiple bodies, including those of children, were recovered, many severely burned after fires engulfed 2 classrooms serving as living quarters. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, said it had targeted a Hamas and Islamic Jihad command and control center there. The IDF said the area was being used by the terrorists to plan attacks against Israeli civilians and IDF troops, and accused Hamas of using the Gazan population as human shields. Video footage shared online showed large fires consuming parts of the school, with graphic images of severely burned victims, including children and survivors suffering critical injuries. Faris Afana, Northern Gaza Ambulance Service manager, said he arrived at the scene with crews to find 3 classrooms ablaze. There were sleeping children and women in those classrooms, he said. Some of them were screaming, but we couldn't rescue them due to the fires. Now, moving on to Africa, and in particular Congo. Former Democratic Republic of Congo President Joseph Kabila is back in the country for the first time in 2 years, having arrived in the rebel-held eastern city of Goma. Spokespeople for the rebels as well as youth leader from his party have said Kabila's arrival comes after senators stripped him of his immunity over alleged support for the Rwanda-backed M23 rebel group, which has been fighting the Congolese army. Kabila, who has previously denied links with the rebel group, recently decried the justice system, alleging it was exploited for political ends. The 53-year-old led DR Congo for 18 years after succeeding his father, Laurent, who was shot dead in 2001. He handed power to President Felix Tshisekedi in 2019, but they later fell out. Speaking to the BBC, a Goma youth leader for Kabila's People's Party for Reconstruction and Democracy, PPRD, confirmed earlier reports from the M23 that Kabila had arrived in Goma. Kabila should be allowed full access to the country. For us, it's like a father has returned to his children, Innocent Mirimo told the BBC Swahili. Last month, PPRD was banned by the authorities in capital Kinshasa, who accused it of having an ambiguous attitude towards the capture of Congolese territory by the M23. And in a message on X, rebel spokesperson Lawrence Kanyuka welcomed Kabila to Goma, saying, "We wish him a pleasant stay in the liberated areas." Well, that's it from what is on the foreign scene. Let's have a look at what is in the dailies today.
Well, we begin with the New Vision, where Elias Narukola. Now, on the front page there is the Vision gives you why Narukola lost his seat. What are some of the reasons? The New Vision has that. Now, Museveni asks leaders to assess UPE policy. And NRM polls full list of winners. Still, the power of networking and national ID renewal starts today. So if you're among those people who got theirs in 2014, 2015, please run and have your national ID renewed. Now we also see MPs, MP heads to court of appeal. That is the Kawempe Pose court verdict. Let me go through the daily monitor this morning. Uganda's digital shilling, a safe bet or digital gamble? A question there for you. Now, how MWI simplifies job hunting and break Uganda's import chain. What do we have to do? Then tech boom triggers early retirement. How is it triggering early retirement? Well, there's so much for you. Now, Julie, please take us through Kenya and Tanzania.
Right, we are today handling Kenya, and that is the Daily Nation. And the headline there is State Terror. And even with no action taken against rogue security agents blamed for killing dozens of protesters during last June's Gen Z protests, there are growing concerns that a brutal crackdown on government critics has escalated. The latest victim of the state-sanctioned abductions in Juja, MP George Koimburi, police claim he stage-managed his attack. That is in the Daily Nation. And still in the Daily Nation, Ruto CSs clash over 45 billion bombers cash. And tragedy, a woman's 16-hour of horror captain's death in the Indian Ocean. That is in the Daily Nation. Still in the Daily Nation, State House hand in Professor Anangwe's resignation from UON leadership. And finally, conned by a prophet, CA now targets rogue religious broadcasters. All of that in the Daily Nation, and that's it with what is in the dailies. Just make sure that you get yourself a copy to see the detail of everything. Now, a lot is still coming your way today on Good Morning Uganda. We have a lot of conversation to engage in, especially we have a conversation on Emivumba, what is called the second-hand clothes. So save that number, 0709-602-592, and be sure to engage in the conversation. For now, let's take a short break and enjoy music from Adam Levin and Gym Class Heroes, Stereo Hearts.
Live from
Matthias Mpuga get to be called out because of the alleged corruption after they shared about 1.7 billion shillings amongst themselves. Now, Hampton Obua, the NRM chief whip, says that the members of parliament are not following, especially those from the NRM party, are not following the party prescriptions, and actually asked them to stop signing the censure motion until an investigation has been done and establishment has been made to ensure that they are acting according to the rules and regulations of the NRM party. But the move of the motion, Theodore Sechkubo said for them they will not be deterred. They are going to continue seeking for signatures. Last week they were looking for about 40 signatures, and this week they say they are looking for under 30 signatures. So that's what is happening in the Parliament of Uganda, and so much more around the country. But we will launch into that after I have checked on the team. Jerome Paul, how are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing fantastic. I've been going through a survey here that was released by the
Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development yesterday as they were launching the National Budget Month. And my observation also was that the Minister of Finance was not in the country and was represented by the State Minister, that is Honorable Evelyn Anite, who's in charge of privatization and investment, but still under the Ministry of Finance. And also what was revealed that day or yesterday was that Uganda is the most transparent country within the region when it comes to budget issues, according to the Open Budget Survey. However, still on a very good note that I've woken up on a Wednesday, details coming in from the developments at the Namugongo Shrine do not reveal
UBC, inspiring Uganda. 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 UBC,
Time for the real, where we get to engage in a conversation that you can be a part of. 07096025592 is the number that you should save so that you get to talk about what we are talking about this morning. Good morning to you. My name is Julie Nantaba Musisi, and as always, Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono is with me, and we are getting into this conversation together alongside you. Now, in August 2023, the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, banned the import of second-hand clothes, that is emivumba. And since then, taxes on second-hand clothes have been tightened, thus hurting small traders and importers in Uganda. Meanwhile, local clothing manufacturers and the industries have also increased from at least 3 to 10 manufacturers. But the question is, as we look at the future of Uganda's fashion industry, how ready are Ugandans for a total ban on second-hand clothes? That is what we are looking into. So once again, do engage the conversation 0709 602 592 and be a part of it. Robert, looking at Uganda's fashion future, we are looking at how ready we are for a total ban on second-hand clothes. But let's first look at their economic importance. Do mivumbas actually carry any economic importance for Uganda?
Well, first and foremost, let's look at employment. It is estimated that over 30,000 Ugandans are involved in this business. That is importing, doing the actual selling. There are those that wash them, those that iron them. You know, it's a whole chain.
Those that sort them.
Those that sort them. When you see that one bale, what we call water that contains second-hand clothes, there are a lot of people that feed on that one bale. When us, right from the person who is doing the importation, because there is a person who imports and just has a store. Then there are those who will come and buy from the store. Then they will take and unwrap. Now there are those who will come and pick first hand, second hand, and those that will pick the subsidiaries, those that you find moving, selling, some even on wheelbarrows, some that will move your wabatembeyi, and there are those that take to those Class A shops that you brag about. Some of them actually, the unique clothes you find there are second-hand clothes, but they are just what in second-hand they call first class. Beat shoes, maybe they were worn for a very short time, maybe they were worn by very rich people that for them, after they let them go, and so much and so on. So when we look at employment first and foremost, how many people are employed in this sector? There are so many. Actually, second-hand and border employment, second-hand clothes and border, those two areas are some of the areas that employ majority of Ugandans in this country. In every district where there is a market, where there are shops, there are second-hand clothes.
True.
There may not even be shops for new clothes. When we look at the districts we have in this country, there is not a single district, be it the extreme end, where you don't find someone dealing in second-hand clothes, but you may not find anyone dealing in new clothes. Now, that is on the level of creating jobs, which is one of the biggest challenges that we have in Uganda. I must say, yes, we have factories that are making new clothes, but the number of employment or people they employ through the chain is not anywhere to what people are, to the number of people being employed in second-hand business. And remember, these are usually, and majority of them, are Ugandans in this business. No doubt, some Chinese are in this business, some Indians are in this business, but by and large, it is dominated by Ugandans.
Right, let's, we're going to look at now the dominance of the textile industry in Uganda in just a bit, but let's also still stay with the mivumba. Why do you think Ugandans prefer mivumba? Because you can tell even from the shopping nature, attitude of most Ugandans, when they go to purchase, they'll ask you, kapia kakade, is it from the second hand or is it new? And they'd actually pay arms and legs for a second-hand cloth more than something that is new. Why do you think it's like that?
Now I'm going to look at two sides, the rich end and the low end earners. Now, the rich end earners look for the uniqueness of what comes with a muvumba or a second-hand cloth. Now, These new clothes, for example, I won't mention and buy this suit, buy this shirt, buy this tie. I'm very sure there are so many Ugandans that have this tie. Because you see, when a manufacturer is making products, they don't make one piece. They make a number of pieces. Now this shirt, even if it's Calvin Klein or whatever, call any brand, there's someone who has that very shirt. And most probably, when someone goes to bring them, they'll bring maybe a whole container and put on Uganda market. So you go to a function and you look similar. And now the bad thing is, I'll have the original brand which I'm wearing, and then there's someone who's going to take this very and come with a fake brand, but they seemingly look alike. Now that is the biggest problem that you will find. And away from that, you're going to find that the other problem away from the high end is also durability. Over a time, it has been proven that durability is very important. Durability, these clothes, usually second-hand clothes, for reasons I can't explain also. Either they are made of good fabric or something like that, they take a longer test of time. They are there longer enough for you to use them, second-hand clothes. Now that is the extreme people who have money and their choice is second-hand clothes. Their uniqueness, because you can rarely find someone putting on a muvumba or a second-hand cloth that you have, but also they talk about durability. Now when we go to this other side, affordability. Let me tell you, you as far as 5,000, someone can get what to put on, or even 2,000. And they can dress their children. They can have something to wear. It may not be very easy with taxation for you to find something to put on at 5,000 that is new. Now there comes affordability, that many Ugandans who may not afford a suit of 500, 800 and beyond. In Muvumba, you find a suit there for you when you have a function of 250 or even less. And that you can put on and look good and fit on the occasion. Now, that is one area. Two, away from affordability, still they believe that these second-hand clothes are more durable if you know how to look after them very well. They'll tell you, you know. So those two, affordability and also availability. You see, a second-hand cloth can find you anywhere. When you go to the ghettos, there's a mutembe, there's a hawker, there's someone who is having a second-hand cloth. When you go to the nearest market, you know, you find someone who is having a second-hand cloth. Now, this may not work for the new clothes that are usually sold in shops. So, affordability, availability, those two make them Uganda's preferred choice to wear. And then the other side, the uniqueness as well, and let's talk also of the durability.
Right. We are having a conversation on the future of Uganda's fashion industry, one that has had many second-hand clothes take shape in many Ugandans' wardrobes, but being that it's taking its ban implementation, as the president decided that it should be banned right from August 2023, and we're wondering, are Ugandans ready for this ban on second-hand clothes? That is a conversation that we're having. So 0709-602-592 is a number that you should engage and be a part of the conversation. Now, Robert, let's look at the potential of Uganda's local textile industry. Earlier on, you did paint a picture of how Uganda's second-hand clothing industry is dominated by more Ugandans than foreigners. What does it look like for the textile industry of Uganda? Who is dominating more, and what does the future hold?
First, I want to put this on record and be very clear that what I'm saying is the reality on the ground. I know we may have various statistics, or we may have people that may paint a wrong picture of the true story. First, we are not yet ready for the ban of second-hand clothes as a country. We must be realistic. We aren't yet there. Why? We may be having now about 14 factories that are doing actual textile. And the funny thing is that most of these factories, the cotton they are using is imported.
Wow.
It's not cotton grown in Uganda.
Which,
Majority of
in other words, which defeats the purpose.
Because if you're in Uganda and the raw materials you're using are imported, that doesn't make sense to me if you're talking about promoting local industries.
Right.
But however, it is a journey that we can rectify. Because one time we had very many cotton growers, but we know what happened. And so when there wasn't so much market for cotton, definitely people pulled out and began growing some other things.
Cash crops, yeah.
Now, here we are with the wise leadership of President Yoweri Museveni. He says, no, we must rebuild our textile industry. They have brought in investors, like I think I saw in Mbale Industrial Park. His Paul, the other name has just run out of my mind. He's an investor here in Bugorobi. I've visited. They are called, I think, Fine Spinners.
Oh, Fine Spinners, yes.
Yes, I've visited
it's an
them.
Indian workshop.
Yeah, I toured there, and I must be very honest, I was very, very pleased with what I saw. Ugandan cotton, from getting it when it is raw up to the last minute, the last point of production. And bravo to Fine Spinners. You're doing a great job. But now, when we see that a factory that needs maybe 1,000 tons of cotton, we cannot avail that. And cotton is the raw material that we're talking about here. That is a problem. And what is funny also, that majority of the cotton grown in Uganda is exported. Now, Julie, the math doesn't math. Companies in Uganda are importing.
Right.
Cotton grown in Uganda is being exported, majority of it. Now, what must we do to ensure that cotton grown in Uganda, first, for factories to survive, you need to have continuous, reliable supply of raw materials. Now, if we do not have enough raw materials to supply our factories, believe you me, they will collapse. You know, they will collapse, no doubt about that, they will collapse. So how do we empower the farmers to give us enough cotton? As of now, we do not have enough cotton. Two, I've always found a disturbing question in my mind, and I've failed to find the answer. Cost of production in our country makes the output of production more expensive.
More expensive, yes.
When you look at, maybe they will tell you power, I won't say taxation because most of these are given tax holiday. For example, the recent factory that was launched, they have a tax holiday of about 5 years.
Yes.
Now, but they'll tell you cost of production, they'll tell you issues of transporting raw materials, the road network, they'll tell you, so all this has to go back to, is forwarded to the final consumer. And the final consumer finds that good very expensive for them. And remember, when we talk about the textile industry, there are substitutes. If I may not wear this from Fine Spinners because it's expensive, I'll cross over and I'll find a shirt similar to this.
That actually brings a question. Are the textiles that are produced here in Uganda, are they actually exported as well?
Yes. I'll talk about Fine Spinners because at least I was privileged to go and tour and have a word with the general manager. When I reached Fine Spinners, by then they had just started producing for the local market. Can you believe?
Wow.
They were producing for exports only. Whatever they were doing, they were exporting, and they were not keeping for Ugandan market. Now, they have just started, I think, in 2 or 3 years to produce something for the domestic market. So this is in Uganda, but not producing for the Ugandan market. But now they have decided to go domestic, and it's a very good move. So the textile industry in Uganda faces those two major challenges. One, raw materials. If they are not buying at a good cost, and the farmer has a better cost of selling their raw cotton, believe you me, they are going to sell there, unless government ring fences or put some technicalities. Two, if the cost of production, your final output or your product is going to be more expensive, and remember there is a substitute, no person who, unless yours is of high quality, that someone will say, like they leave new textiles and go for the second hand saying durability or quality. You know that if I buy a shirt made out of Uganda cotton, one, the quality is so high, even when I put it on, I feel like, yes. that is when a Ugandan will go for it. But as long as what you produce is more expensive than what is imported in the country, Ugandans may not buy your product. But also let's look at quality.
Right.
You know, quality. What is the quality of that is being produced in Uganda? If I'm a business person and I tell you, when we are talking about jeans, this is the quality that the market wants. This is the fashion the market wants. Can we in Uganda produce that quality? Second, not all textile is cotton. Now, the textile industry in Uganda, are we able to produce other forms of textile products that are not necessarily out of cotton? We have silk. We have, it's called polyester. We have the number of fabrics that are not produced here in Uganda.
Right.
So have our industries gone ahead to ensure that even those fabrics that we do not have here in Uganda, because for us we are relying on cotton, basically. Some are produced out of oil. Good, we are going into oil exploration.
Right.
Our target was to have our first oil by 2025?
Actually 2026.
2026.
Right.
Now, if we go to that, those that come out as byproducts or what, can we have that captured and our textile industries can produce material of that, yes, pieces of such material. So it's still a long journey.
Right. Let's look at a couple of your comments. And Cricket, Derek, you come through and you say, good morning, Julie and Robert. Being in lower income status as a country, second-hand clothes is one of our characteristics. We are very okay with them, and their prices can match our pockets. Secondly, the originality in these clothes, which speaks volumes of their durability, creates more demand for them. So much as the government is advocating for Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, our local products are most times expensive and scarce, yet our biggest population is ready to settle for the less. Bitter fact. This is Cricket Derek Gagamel from Machindye. And as somebody else comes through and says good morning, but it seems like it's a plan of making Ugandans poor. You first make Ugandans rich and ban them with high tax in commodity where you should expect money from guys. And yeah, this is Dr. Noah, and you're complaining about that, of how Ugandans are treated with taxes and then the money that has taken away from them. Somebody else comes through. Andrew says economic benefits for second-hand clothes. Number 1, affordable. Number 2, budget-friendly. Number 3, access to quality clothing. And then unique benefits, one-of-a-kind finds, vintage and retro, sustainable style. This is from Monday Andre in Bundibujo District, Kayenje Trading Center. One last one. I think we are not ready for the ban because most of the Ugandans have second hands in our wardrobes, and it's going to cause unemployment, leading to high climate rate. This is
crime.
What
I think you meant
crime. I think
crime.
you meant crime. Yes,
High
actually,
crime
yes.
rate.
High crime rate. This is Carol. Thank you so much for getting in touch. And actually, Robert, as we begin to close this, let's look at the fact that youth are dominating the fashion industry of Uganda. Where does this leave the youth?
One, youth don't have so much to spend on them, majority of them, so they have little to spend. And of course, definitely, what is affordable is the second-hand clothes. 2, youth are very fashionable. However, also one of the advantages that youth being majority into this may promote, not our textile industry as such, I must say, but promote more importation than exports. Why? You see, youth live in a global world. They follow pop stars, they follow prominent people, what they are putting on, they follow international designers, where our industry has not gotten there. So our youth will see someone in a certain wear, and they will want that wear. Remember, we don't have those so much outstanding brands or designers who have come up. So the youth, the interests of the youth are about affordability and what the Western world is bringing in. Pop culture. Now, I don't see our industries in Mbale, fine speeders, move with the trend. Most of these a UK designer will design something for somebody, a designer in China will copy that. Work out very fast. Load it. People will bring it on market.
But also that speaks into labels, because youth love putting on labels.
Labels as such. So it all doesn't favor so much in our textile industry, having the youth more so interested. I said, yes, it's a step in a right direction, but we must go slow. We must go slow. Recently, government tightened taxes on import of second-hand clothes. But still, that is a good move for revenue. But it didn't hinder Ugandans from buying these clothes. Because even the taxation, they still remain affordable, they still remain durable. So we need to build our industries, but not with a ban. Certain things are done automatically. Empower the farmers to have the cotton there. Then also empower these industries. An investor doesn't just come in, but what are other necessities? How do we look at these young girls that are doing fashion and design every day, the textile industry? How do we take them to be at the global perception of things?
Which could actually speak into the tourism industry of Uganda as well. Now let's close this with this comment from, I think you're called Benon, and you say, good morning, Uganda, thank you for the program. Personally, I think it's possible to be banned. But the question is, why have second-hand clothes? Not only that, even if we have second-hand gadgets dominating the local market. Second-hand clothes are cheap and durable. They take long and even are cheap, basing on majority of incomes for Ugandans. I think personally it's not right. It's not the right time to ban second-hand clothes if Uganda government has not established a replacement to cater for low-income populations. Secondly, Uganda products are the best duplicates. Check Bubu products, and they last shortly. So if Uganda government has not established a suitable replacement or option, I think it's not the right time to ban second hands, but to
Ugandan products are not that as they have been described. Actually, something made in Uganda is more durable. Look at the chairs, the beds, or anything. The only problem is when we do not focus on standardization and standards. That's where we go wrong. But a chair made here, you can't compare them to this furniture, the high-end furnitures, or a bed that you buy from these whatever. They don't use wood, we use wood. They'll get this form, then put glue and whatever, call it wood. Ours is pure wood. So Ugandan products are very, very durable. The only problem is when we don't focus on standards.
Right. Thank you so much for being on the conversation. And as we close this finally, good morning, UBC. Dennis Curia in Entebbe. Second-hand clothes shouldn't be disturbed because they are affordable to the majority of Ugandans. Please advise the government. Thank you so much for being on the show. We have a lot still more in stock for you. GMU Tourism Express is up next. We have business and we also have the agenda, so stay tuned.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world of mission faces its greatest test yet, be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, cover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Where we were was just inside the shrine, and it was dedicated to all the Uganda martyrs. Not all of them were killed from here, but it is a dedication to all the Uganda martyrs, and it is the exact spot also where Kaloli Rwanga was killed, just where we were standing. There's no such remain, but there was a bone that they got to show us, which you can get to find. Now, when you come outside, we have the demonstration of everything that is inside just behind us, and that is what we are going to dive into right now, again with Ben. He's going to still tell us about the demonstration, why we have it here, and the surroundings around it.
Still again, my name is Ben Tenywa, in charge of the tourists and pilgrims at the Uganda Martyrs Catholic Shrine in Mugongo. Now, where we are here is a demonstration of what we saw inside the shrine. This is a demonstration showing how the leader, Charles Rwanga, was killed. Charles Rwanga, or Kaloli Rwanga, was the leader of all the Uganda martyrs. So, he was tied, he was wrapped in mat reeds, firewood. You see, somebody is lighting the fire, another one is adding on more firewood. The fire came from feet to head while was still alive. And he told them, you are burning me, but it is as if you are pouring water over my body. You have not tied me well. Leave me and I tie myself so that you can burn me. Gandhi told the king, he has killed me for nothing. Let him repent. If he does not repent, I'll be the accuser before God. Mother Mary is a patron of this place. That's why they have put a holy image of Mother Mary. And those people were kneeling, we are praying for Charles Rwanga, Kaloli Rwanga, who was in the fire burning, that he may go to heaven. So this is what took place.
And sorry to cut you short. So the people that were kneeling, were they also Uganda martyrs?
They were also Uganda martyrs, but the church believes they were already in heaven. They were killed first, praying for this man who was still in the fire burning. Now here, there is some bit of history. You see? King Mutesa I. Mutesa I was the one who invited the missionaries. He was the one who wrote the letter inviting the missionaries to come to Uganda. He wrote it to Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria. That letter was taken in England by Leonard Benefeld and was published in a newspaper called the Daily Telegraph of England on the 14th of April, 1875. So missionaries started coming, first Anglicans in 1877. Again, the Catholics came on 17th of February, 1879. Father Simeon Ludel and Brother Amanes. Here they are landing at Chigungu near Entebbe Airport. When they landed on the soil of Uganda, they knelt down, they prayed, asking God to bless their missionary work. They dedicated this country to Mary, mother of Jesus. They went to the palace where the king, Mutesa I, who gave them a house where they were staying. They went to the palace here in Lubaga. Yeah. At Lubaga, they were given at the palace. They were given permission to teach Christianity. They were given land at Nabulagala. Nabulagala. You see? Now after this, Mutesa died. When Mutesa died, his son Mwanga succeeded him. Now it was King Mwanga who killed the Uganda Martyrs. Why? He accused them of being disobedient because on Sunday they were not working. They were going for prayers. Now King thought they are becoming disobedient. So he accused them of being disobedient. Number two, he accused them of being rebels. The way they were praying, let your kingdom come. The king thought, which kingdom is that? I'm the king here. How can they say their king is in heaven? He regarded them as rebels. And the prison was punishable by death. Arabs were here. Arabs were dealing in slave trade. When the missionaries came, they were telling the king slave trade is evil. Now the business got interrupted. For that matter, Arabs started influencing the king to kill. Christianity also preached against witchcraft. People stopped going to the witch doctors to get solution for their problem. The witch doctor lost market. They also telling the king to kill. Arabs were telling the king to kill. Witch doctors were telling the king to kill. Prime Minister Mukasa was telling the king to kill. Now the king told the Uganda Martyrs, if you don't leave Christianity, I'm going to kill you. They said, you kill us, we are not going to leave. Now they were arrested from Kampala, Munyonyo. They came on killing. At Munyonyo they killed the 3. Then a Sebugwa, Posiano, Ngondwe, and Ukagwa. They just cut off their hands, legs, and scattered the pieces. All the Kampala, they killed Matia Mulumba. Owino Market, they killed Balikudembe and the Bazekere. When they are about to here, they killed Gonzaga. The rest were brought here at Namugongo and burnt like this. You see? They were burnt like this. See? They were wrapped in mattresses. See, these are heads. These are heads. These are heads. They were wrapped in mattresses, firewood, and the fire was lit from feet to head, where they were still alive. Some people were cut. Some people were speared. So it was on the 3rd of June, 1886, 137 years ago. Now, whenever this day comes, 1 million people come. We don't pray in the church. We pray on the lake. We go there to see.
Okay. We started from the shrine itself in the inside, getting to see the remain that was the bone of Kaloli Ranga, who was killed at the exact spot where we were. There were paintings, of course, and pictures of the Pope who came to cleanse the place after it had been put in place while construction was still taking place. But there were also pictures of each Uganda martyrs. Remember, the shrine was a dedication to all of them, all the Uganda martyrs. And shortly after that, we got to the place outside that just depicts all that is inside. You also got to see it has pictures on the side that shows the kings who wrote the letter, how Mutesa wrote the letter to Queen Victoria, and of course the process to Mapera until Kabaka Mwanga, who killed these martyrs. But we are not stopping yet. We are also heading to the lake and get to know what's there for us. Remember, we are still talking about religious tourism, and this one is dedicated to the Catholics. We are still in the Lent period, and this is the 3rd week. I'll be waiting you to join me as we continue to exhaust religious tourism with the Catholics. We'll be starting exactly at the lake and getting to see what's also there regarding the Uganda matters.
Good morning, Uganda. Welcome back from GMU Tourism Express as we look forward to celebrating the Uganda Martyrs on the 3rd of June 2025. Now, time for GMU Business My name is Julie Nantama Musisi, and we're starting off with the Potato Conference. The Ministry of Agriculture has stated the need to strengthen food systems, improve seed quality, and targeted efforts to address the adverse effects of climate change on agricultural productivity. Tumwebaze was officiating at the opening of the 13th Africa Potato Association Conference in Munyonyo, held under the theme Fostering Climate-Smart Cropping Systems for Sustainable Potato and Sweet Potato Value Chains. The 13th Africa Potato Association Conference attracted scientists, researchers, and agricultural stakeholders from across the continent to showcase innovations and define strategies for advancing potato and sweet potato value chains. Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries Frank Tumwebaze commended NARO for leading climate-resilient research and developing nutrition-sensitive solutions. Now moving on, vendors have raised complaints over being expelled from operating at Namugongo ahead of the Martyrs' Day celebrations. Security operatives managing the area had given the vendors an ultimatum until Friday, May 29th to vacate. The complaints arise from congestion of businesses that could pose insecurity while at the Uganda Anglican Shrine and vendors not allowed to operate by the roadside. Every June 3rd, the Namugongo Catholic and Anglican shrines hold thousands of pilgrims coming to celebrate Martyrs' Day. The sites, both at the Catholic and Anglican, host hundreds of vendors selling fast-moving merchandise. But according to security, the congestion poses a threat, and the vendors are already complaining of being marginalized to exploit business opportunities around the area. Security operatives want these businesses out. However, when asked about why security blocked vendors from operating, the chairperson organizing committee, Bishop Loom Godfrey, says vendors block access to shrines and disrupt prayers. Police spokesperson KMP also had that to say about that. Now moving on to China, Sweden-based car maker Volvo Cars will cut around 3,000 jobs as part of its cost-cutting measures. The firm says that the layoffs will mainly impact office-based positions in Sweden, representing about 15% of its white-collar workforce. Last month, Volvo Cars, which is owned by Chinese group Geely Holding, announced an 18 billion Swedish krona action plan shake-up of the business that is at about $1.9 billion. The global motor industry is facing a number of major challenges, including U.S. President Donald Trump's 25% tariffs on imported cars, higher cost of materials, and slower sales in Europe. The chief executive of Volvo Cars, Hakan Samuelsson, pointed to the challenging period faced by the industry as a reason for the layoffs. The actions announced today have been difficult decisions, but they are important steps as we build a stronger and even more resilient Volvo Cars, he said. Earlier this month, the firm said its global sales for April fell by 11% compared to the same period last year, and Volvo Cars has its main headquarters and development offices in Gothenburg, Sweden. It has major production plants in Sweden, Belgium, China, and the US, and the company was sold by US motor industry giant Ford to China's Geely in 2010. Now let's have a quick look at what is with the forex rates as of 26th May 2025. The dollar opened at 3,645.09 buying and was selling at 3,655.09. By midday, it was buying at 3,644.77 and selling at 3,654.77. It closed in at 3,644.64 buying and selling at 3,654.64. The British pound was buying at 4,948.33 and selling at 4,961.90. And the Kenyan shilling, the euro, was buying at 4,157.08 and selling at 4,168.48. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.20 and selling at 28.28. And the Tanzanian shilling was at 1.35 and selling at 1.35. And the South African rand was buying at 204.59 and selling at 205.15. Well, that's it from GMU Business. Up next is the agenda. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
What you check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The circle started 5 years back with 15 members who were part of the executive, and we managed to use the same 15 members to mobilize the youth and come in to make the 16 associations. So each member took a thought of gathering, mobilizing the 15 people to make associations. So the circle was established. We happened to have 229 members that qualified for 30 millions, which we got in 2021. We used the 30 millions from the presidential initiative to buy the 6 motorcycles, which was a small number to benefit the 229 members, but we managed to use it. The 6 border helped us to go under saving culture. we managed to group our members into 15-15 for saving culture. So the saving culture is 15 groups. They could get 12,000 per day, which 12,000 at the end of the month manages to buy one motorcycle. That one motorcycle is shared among the 15, so they vote who to take it. The 15 kept on until the 15 months, every member had to get one motorcycle with saving culture. As I say, we managed to get 84 motorcycles from today's report. On daily, a rider, you move Kawempe, Nakawaru, Makinde, you Kampala Metropolitan, and at the end of the day, you have 50,000. That one, we call it average day. There is a time you make 100, that is, we call it the golden day. So most of our members came without anything to use or to support their family. So we helped them by giving them the border as one of the job opportunity the SACCO is offering to the community.
Tuso kwebaza President Museveni olw'enkola eno gyatutereddewo otukulaakulanya nga najja wano mu SACCO eno nga sirina piki era ndi omu ku bammemba abaasooka okufuna piki. Kati abavubuka abali bateesobola kugula piki wano kibakyamu. Ogula buguzi migabo $5,000 ng'ofuna piki ng'otandika obulamu. Ate ku layisi tuli bangi. Kuba omuntu tolina $5,000,000 zigula mpya 5 kitundu. Oba oguza emigabo ate nga gijjo n'otandikira okwo. Tolaba nti oba ofunyemu. Abantu abali batalina mirimu baagifuna. Wawo guno mulimu nno gwennyini tugufunyemu singa simaanyi ga mulimu guno kitegeeza nandibadde sikola ki sina ngeri kigenyiza bikwasaganya abaana basoma era muki okulya byonna bakwesannyusaamu era kiki era ngutwalanga ensonga enkulu kubanga ofunamu gubinkolera go ge mazima gubinkolera ddala bulungi mukadde tajjula maama gwe nninawo yekka oba oli awo akasimu ante kino bakiri mugira nga noteekayo n'omusindiki ante kino egamba tosobola kulwamu ki sente.
Ebyenfuna byange byali bibi ddala naye mu bbanga ery'emyezi 9 wenfunidde piki ayo obulamu bwakyukira ddala kubanga siganye na kati nkyapangisa naye luli eri nga landirodyako netutandika nga odduka nosanga nga basiirinze nawo naye kati nsobola omusasula nina omukyala n'abaana bendabirira nsobola okubaliisa bulungi nnyo nga embeera etambula era njagala okwebaza omukulembeze w'eggwanga tujjukira nga ffe abavubuka n'atuleetera pulojekiti eno ey'emyoga kuba ne mami wange saazina neenyumirizaamu kuba akubira akasimu n'omuweerezaayo omutwalo oba 2 kuba oba ozirina. Njagala otwala omukisa guno okwebaza omukulembeze w'eggwanga olw'okutulowoozaako nga ffe abavubuka n'atuleetera pulojekiti y'emyoga ne tutandika okufuna ku mirimu ne tufuna ebyokukola. Twabeerangawo nga tulina byakukola tutambula butambuzi na kuzzabuza misango naye kati okuva pulojekiti y'emyoga yajja kati tukola era sente zaffe tuzirabako era olw'okuba nti nasiima nze ng'omuntu nasalawo n'ekifaananyi kya Pulezidenti Museveni kitambuze mu Kampala yonna mwenkolera okubalaga nti Pulezidenti Museveni yantuusizza ku kino kuba nekolera sente zange era nzifuna era nzirabako.
Juko. Yo. What you check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the Parish Development Model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a SACCO, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. We want what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for choosing UBC TV. And like we mentioned earlier on, as of yesterday evening, last evening, 26th of May, 2025, Kawempe North constituency does not have an MP representing them in the 11th Parliament of Uganda, as the court cancelled the election of Honorable Elias Nalukola. And it's a conversation we are delving into, so be in on the conversation. 0709602592 is the number, WhatsApp number to which you can be a part of this conversation. Now we are having a guest to be part of this conversation, and that is the General Secretary of the NRM, Honorable Richard Todwong, over the phone so that he helps us understand a clearer picture of what it means for the NRM. I am with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and together we are delving into this conversation. So once again, be a part of it, 0709602592. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you, Julie, and of course our viewer.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, Honorable Richard Todwong.
Good morning, Juliet, Robert. Good morning, Ugandans, and good morning, viewers.
Yes, indeed. The whole world indeed knows, and I believe you also know, that as of yesterday, Honorable Elias Nalukola was cancelled as the MP Member of Parliament for Kawempe North by the court. What does this make you feel as the NRM party?
Well, we just wanted the right things done, and we petitioned court because of the elections in Kawempe North, and we knew that what was done there will not make NUP sustain their victory. And indeed, the court confirmed our suspicion, and we congratulate NRM party, we congratulate democracy, because that is what democracy means. When you feel aggrieved, you go to the courts, and the court has really confirmed our suspicion.
Right, so what does this...
So we're happy.
Amazing. Right, right. And on that note, what does this mean? What does the ruling mean for the political landscape of Kawempe North, one that is traditionally known as the opposition stronghold?
No, one, of course, it's now casting doubt on what the opposition claim their strongholds are. Some of these strongholds are artificial strongholds. They are not really organic, because artificial, it means they create an unnecessary support in a place where they don't have support. And so they were ferrying people from different parts of Kampala to move to Kawempe North to give them support. There were ballot stuffing, there were all sorts of multi-practice in that election. So the court ruling just confirmed exactly what we thought was wrong. And so to us, this is a victory to democracy, not only to NRM. And we are happy that at least the courts are trying to see what we also see.
Now, Honorable, we've listened to a number of analysts, political analysts and constitutional lawyers who say that NRM could have won the battle, that is the court battle, but lost the war, in that there isn't so much time left. And Honorable Elias Nalukola is likely to stay in Parliament if he makes an appeal. So does this in any way have a meaning to why NRM sought court redress in this?
No, whatever it is, at least we have expressed our concern. We have given Ugandans our side of the story. The court has confirmed that. So I saw they put notice of appeal. Whatever happens in the Court of Appeal, I cannot predict. But even if the Court of Appeal upholds the decision of the High Court or the rule otherwise, at least we feel what we raise as a concern has been addressed by the first court.
Now, Honorable, what does this mean to democracy? Because NRM is the party in power, and many will say you can hardly separate the two. It's potato, potato. Now, what does this mean when we hold an election and end in court, and indeed the court comes out with clear evidence that the election had irregularities?
You see, NRM is in power, but NRM does not control the state. There is a difference between the state and there is a difference between government. We contest governance, but we don't contest state. So the courts, the judiciary, the security forces, Bank of Uganda and others, those are part of states. That even if today NRM leaves power, those particular institutions will stay to serve another government that comes. So we don't contest those because they are statutory organs that should always be there as per the constitution. We only contest governance. Now, what has happened, there is also a divide between NRM party and what government does. We win a majority vote to be in charge of government, and our government platform is shared by even those who don't believe in our political parties, as per the constitution. The civil servants are not supposed to be members of a political party. So therefore, it is wrong for someone to insinuate that NRM being in power now controls everything about government, controls judiciary, controls everything. Yes, we give our manifesto, and these institutions of government implements our manifesto. But then when we go wrong, they also check us. We have lost elections before, we have been taken to courts, and we have lost courts before as a party. So that is to say, we don't control their decisions. They are independent, and they rule the cases based on the merits of a particular case that are before them. So NRM does not do that. Now, as for the democratic space, to me, it is an indication that if you feel aggrieved, there is an avenue to address your grievances, which is the courts of law. And that is, to me, the most important thing for all political players and democratic practitioners. That there is a problem you feel you have in your institution or in governance, there is a court of law that you can run to, and the court of law is independent to adjudicate the matter that you could have presented before them. To me, that is the most important thing.
Right. Now, Honorable, there's growing public concern that about selective justice in election petitions. How do you say that the NRM is addressing fairness, the issues of fairness across the board to the public?
Selective justice, now that should have been a question to the judiciary, because we are all players in this. Where we have electoral petitions, these petitions affect NRM and the petitioners. At times we also have petitioned the courts of law. And there are a lot of backlogs in the judiciary that you know, I'm sure. So that affects both sides. It doesn't only affect opposition. We are also affected. We also have cases that are still lying before the courts of law. So no one should indicate that it is only in favor of NRM.
Right. So based on what the events that transpired during this whole process of the court hearing for this petition, do you think NRM has a high chance in case of a by-election to take over Kawempe North?
Definitely. We had our internal weaknesses, we had our internal flaws, that in the event that we are given a chance to go back, definitely we shall patch up those loopholes, and we can perform better, possibly win the election. Because now we know where the problem were, and definitely we know what the opposition did wrong.
Honorable.
So we shall be able to lock up those leakages.
You've talked about leakages. What are some of those lessons, Honorable, that you could say the last by-election that NRM took home, and you think you can build on them?
Well, in Kawempe North in particular, for us we campaign like we are like the way Christians campaign. We campaign not knowing that people are planning evil against us. So when it comes out in the results, then we start saying, okay, there was a problem. But now, ballot stuffing was, of course, observed heavily. You could see violence in the polling stations that were cancelled. A lot of polling stations were cancelled because of violence which were started by opposition members, and that was how security came in to normalize the situation. And therefore, the whole election was full of violence. The whole election was full of unnecessary activities that were not supposed to be in an election. So all these put together, and then there were fairing of voters. Non-voters were allowed to vote, and electoral commissions were allowed to count those votes. Now, all that put together, definitely, if we go for a by-election, we can perform better. And we have observed this over the years, and we know within Kampala and within Uganda especially, there are these issues.
Honorable, there is an issue of intrigue and disunity within the party that was exhibited in Kawempe. Now, you've also come from an election that is internal democracy, lower level, and also now, recently, we've also seen another election that leaves the party somehow disunited, disgruntled, and even at lower levels. Don't you think these are factors that even as we approach 2026 are worth seeing and seeking solutions to?
By its nature, a political organization is always where an institution has more than the kind of number of people we have. You should expect such. You can even see it in the church, in the cultural institutions, in NGOs. But now to say that the most important thing is we conducted internal structure elections in 72,000 villages of Uganda. No political party has the power to do what we have done. That in one go, in one day, all the villages of Uganda were conducting elections, and these were 72,000 villages. We elected 31 leaders. Now you multiply 31 times 72,000 villages. How many leaders do we have at grassroots level? Now that is the base. So when we speak about the base is covered. 2, we went to parish level. At parish, we have about 10,000 plus parishes in Uganda. All the parishes, we also elected the same number of leaders. To sub-counties. We came to town councils, the divisions and municipalities. And then we did it at district level, where we concluded last week. Now, all these layers, we've been electing leaders democratically in the party. And there is no way that you cannot... Our openness in practicing democracy is seen through the lining up that we implemented. Our members were lining up openly. They were being counted. You lose your election, you go back home. You win, you are celebrated. There is nothing like ballot stuffing because everything is done in the open, and that is how transparent NRM is. Now we are going for constituencies to elect flag bearers at all levels. Now, these are activities that a mass party has to do, and that tells you how strong we are in the country. All these political parties that are shouting around cannot even sponsor candidates in more than 3-4 districts consecutively. Now, when we win the national election, they should not even question because we have the base where our support is, including in Uganda, where they think they have more support than us.
Now, Honorable, this brings... Please continue.
To me, it's a sign of strength. It's a sign of strength. It's a sign of transparency. And indeed, our elections are always very, very open. And we have only internal contradictions in the party. We don't have any problem with opposition. We are only suffering from our own success.
I love that.
Because you find in a constituency, we have about 3-4 candidates running in the name of NRM. And that is where the problem, they divide our votes, and then the few that are remaining go for opposition. And that is when, if opposition wins, they claim they have won. But the majority supporters in a particular constituency like that are always NRM.
So should we say you're suffering from failure to manage success? Should we say you're suffering from failure to manage success?
We are not failing, neither we're suffering. We have really detected where the problem is. We are trying to do a lot of internal readjustment to make sure that such problems are addressed. We started addressing this by creating a very powerful register. And I'm sure you know that for the first time in the history of the party has a register which has spoken volume to resolve this matter. Every village has a register. That at least, I've not had any complaint against the register that we have created. The only complaint I've had is that people are claiming they are fighting with one another. They are claiming some of our registrars were bribed. Those are administrative issues that we are resolving. So that by the time we go for primaries, we are clean and sorted. and then we shall see who will match us again.
Honorable, let's look at voter fatigue or low turn-up. Now, in case of events that we are not caught up by time and we go for another by-election, there's been a challenge of low voter turn-up and people seemingly looking like either they're tired of voting or elections, or how do you as a party plan this? Because when you look at what you have in your register as the NRM party, vis-a-vis the number of people that turn up to vote, they don't tally. There's a huge gap. You have so many, yet few participate in the voting exercise. How are you going to handle this?
That is true. That does not only affect NRM. It is a national concern. Even at the national level, with the Electoral Commission register, the voter turn-up is always between 45 to 60%. At the most, once you get the voter turnout of 60%, that is a very heavily contested election. Mainly, it oscillates between 45 to 56, 57 voter turnout. Now, it means we need to intensify civic education. It means the Electoral Commission should inform voters where their polling stations are. It means we need to let people know everything about their civic rights in terms of the elections and everything. Now, within the NRM, our challenge is our registers are at the village level, and therefore all the 72,000 villages are our polling stations. Now, the National Electoral Commission has polling stations at parishes, and there are about 38,000 polling stations where Electoral Commission operates. In terms of numbers, we have more polling stations than the National Electoral Commission. So at times when we call members to go to participate in the national activities, to them they think what they did in our party at villages is what the national level also come and do. So they sit in villages expecting that the polling station will be created in their villages the way we did ours. So we are going to whip them, to mobilize them, to make sure that they go to their nearest polling stations. The voter update has just ended. We've been following them, and we are telling them, please go to your parish and check your names in the National Voter Register and make sure that you confirm that you're in the register. At least that we have done, and we have confirmed that quite a number of our members are actually in the National Voter Register. The next is to make sure they understand where their polling stations are. And then when time comes, they should get their voter slips, and they go with the voting slips at the polling station to vote. Definitely it will improve, but I don't think it will go beyond 70% of the voter turnout.
Right. We are looking into the court cancelling and nullifying Nalukola's victory and ordering the Electoral Commission to plan for another by-election. And in studio with us over the phone is Honorable Richard Todwong, who is the General Secretary of the NRM. Be a part of the conversation, 0709602592. Now, Honorable, let's look again at the court process. Is there a chance that the NRM initiated or helped support Farida in taking this case on to court, or was it entirely an initiative by Farida Nambi?
No, when the elections were over, the party highest organ sat, the Central Executive Committee, and they went through the elections. They identified the loopholes that were in the elections, and the SEC decided that we petition court. And we petitioned the results. And that was when I came to the party head office and announced that the party is going to petition and we are going to court. And that was what happened. So the party was heavily involved in this. It was not an individual issue. For us as a party, we take matters as an organization. We don't leave it to a candidate. It now became a matter of the party because Honorable Farida was a candidate for the party.
Right.
Now, also, Honorable, when we look at the ruling here, one of the things that comes out is voters of about 16,640 who are denied because there was violence. Now, much as you've told us that NRM as a party, we have to differentiate NRM and a state. But then to the public, when we saw some of the top officials, including you, complaining why these heavy deployments, and these have become a characteristic of our electoral process. How do we either limit or reduce them? Because they don't only intimidate, but also sometimes you see the violence that comes in there.
We can only limit or reduce deployment of the armed forces if we, the political players, become disciplined. Because they have constitutional mandate to protect the citizens. In an election, there are those who participate in that election, and there are those who are not even bothered. They want to do their normal work. They are in the markets, they are in their shops, their children going to schools. So there are people who are not part of the election. So why are we electoral players want to seal a constituency to make sure that everybody should be part of an electoral activities, which some of them are not? So that is how the state comes in to regulate interests of different players in a particular constituency. So when we in the politics don't respect ourselves, we import violence to a particular area, then the state comes to neutralize that violence. And that is how the military came in, because noob supporters were busy running up and down, creating chaos in the constituency. So my appeal is that in whatever we get engaged in politically, we need to respect the citizens who are not part of what we are doing.
Right. Because
it's also it's their constitutional right to be free, to move freely, not to be intimidated.
Right. On that note, allow me, Honorable, read for you a question from Daniel Lawai, who asks what detrimental steps has court explained for the security organs to avert such problems. I don't know if you can speak into his question, but that is something he has put forward.
Definitely, I cannot speak to that because that should be a question to the courts.
Right.
But what I know is what I know is in the interest of justice, in the interest of the peace in the country. I'm sure even the judiciary would want to see a peaceful country, and would want to see everybody being free to exercise his or her right, whether you belong to a party or you don't belong to a political party.
Right. Another question comes in for you, and someone says here that Honorable should come clear on the village, parish, sub-county and district recently elected party leader, because those who were elected at the village levels are the ones who were allowed to contest at the parish, and then those from the parish went to contest at the sub-county level. To me, this means that only perfect number is those who were elected at the 72,000 villages. I would suggest in future that the party allows members to contest freely at all levels, not restricting it to those who were elected at village levels to widen the grassroots party members. This is from someone called Laz.
Yes, that is a good concern. But in the past, that was how we used to do it, and it brought in a lot of indiscipline. Because you find people who come with the money. You know, electoral college is very interesting. Electoral college, if you have, like we have been observing along the way, you find someone with the money coming and would take away all the voters and hide them from the opponents. And therefore, the opponent would have nothing to campaign to. And we have been seeing this. So when you come from the base, the village, because in the village there is a village assembly where all the members are. You cannot carry everybody in the village and relocate them to another place to hide them from. So we sieve, the first point of entry, we sieve you from the village. Then those that have been elected from the village move to the parish. From the parish you go to the sub-county. So it's a pyramid structure. And that is what the Central Executive Committee of the party passed. And that was what but we open at the district level. That at least now at the district, for us to get a wider coverage and a wider variety of leaders, let us open up so that anybody who is a member of the party, who is registered in our book, can come and contest for any position at the district level going forward. But the lower levels, we locked it up because we knew it was going to cause chaos in the structure. And that is why we are peaceful.
Right. Honorable, can you point out similar rulings where NRM MPs were unseated from their positions?
Oh yes, because like in the past, there were rulings against our constituents. I don't remember them quite well, but were a bit few. But elections nullified a few of our MPs who were seated. No, not more than 4. I remember them. I can look through my files and see. But I remember some of our MPs were nullified from Parliament by a court.
Right.
And we went back for by-elections and even defeated the opponents.
Now, Honorable, at such a time as we zero into 2026 general elections, what does such a court ruling mean to the democracy of our country?
it's an improvement to the democracy. It's a plus to democracy. It's a show that at least when you feel aggrieved, there is a window you can use instead of resorting to demonstration, violence, beating people. At least you can go to the courts of law, and the courts can hear your issues, and they look at the merits, and then they judge according to the merits of your case. And so that is, to me, good enough. And when you feel dissatisfied with the first court, you can move to the second court of the Court of Appeal. And so there are stages, and this is how issues are addressed in a civilized society.
Yesterday, I watched the Honorable Narukola's legal team, and many of them had a feeling or expression that the way the case was handled, maybe you as the party in power influenced the judicial process. Many said the evidence was never given time to be heard, yet what they presented was used against them, that they were influence meddling in the entire judicial system by you, the NRM party.
That is total rubbish. We don't do that. We don't implement, we don't interfere with the judicial operations. We went before the judiciary with a clean hands. We took our cry to the judiciary, and we left it at that. And they were the ones who have been going to court with their MPs. So we don't interfere what happens in the judiciary at all. We took to them our complaint. They looked at the merits, and then they should also know, for those who are lawyers, there's what they say, the factual and the jury. What is factual might not be necessarily what is judicially acceptable. So they might claim to have evidence, they might claim to, but was it filed in time? Was it before? Because there is a specific period in which you should file your complaint. And then there's a specific period in time that you should put all your evidence in file before the judiciary starts hearing the cases. They are given time. I don't know whether those evidence they were trying to bring were within that specific time. Even then, even when you're in court, you can ask for amendment, and you can still input or add your evidence on the file. So I really don't know what happened. I was not appearing in court. I will check with our lawyers. Yeah.
Right. Now, Honorable, over the years, there's been a display of an image that the NRM is very disconnected when it comes to the urban centers, especially here in Kampala. In your perspective, don't you think that this court ruling will worsen the disconnect as it's been painted?
Not really. You see, we understand these things. We understand it in terms of philosophy, we understand it in terms of ideology, and we are tactfully handling it. For your information, especially the urban centers, the capitals, in all the third world countries, all sub-Saharan African countries, look at all capital cities. Talk about Kampala, talk about Nairobi, talk about Dar es Salaam, talk about Johannesburg. Any capital city in sub-Saharan Africa has the same and similar problem that Kampala has. Recently I was in Nairobi, I saw the same problem we have in Kampala. Congestion, slums, urban poverty, everywhere. Now this is not just because of NRM. This is a long-term institutionalized problem that we need to address it wholeheartedly. Now, when you look at Kampala, for example, if we can bring it back home, the population of Kampala during the day, I don't know whether you know, is close to about 6 million people. Now, 6 million people in the center of the city, in the road which is not expanded, and that is why there is, you see traffic in the morning moving in, and traffic in the evening moving out, meaning people move in to work during the day, and they move out in the evening to go where they sleep. And that means that population oscillates between Kampala and the suburbs of Kampala, which is Wakiso, Mukono, and others. Okay? Meaning, and then you look in vis-a-vis the amount of money that is given to Kampala City Council, the amount of money that is given to the divisions of Kampala to do services, in comparison to the rural districts. If we are giving money for roads, for example, road maintenance, to Wakiso, we are giving 1 billion shillings per annum, and to a rural district like Kole, Noyamai district, other districts, we are also giving 1 billion shillings. What is the population of those districts in comparison to the population of Wakiso? When you look at all the services, settlement, schools, health centers, drainage systems, garbage collection, and then the jobs. People move to those centers because of expectations of getting jobs. Now, when we look at all this, that is why the president has been talking that let us create industrial parks outside Kampala in all the districts to create jobs in those districts. Let us decongest the city by creating opportunities in agriculture, create opportunities in services, create opportunities in industrial sector. Let people get out of the city, they look for jobs outside the city. And I'm happy to notify you that quite a number of young educated people are moving out of the city to look for money. And indeed, there is money outside Kampala for you people who don't know. And then with the time, I'm sure this will work. Now, the other one is, it's just like the disease of third world countries. All educated people want to live in the city. And the kind of, hello, are we still together?
Yes, please, we are together.
And the kind of education we have been giving our children, these are education that help us to look for jobs, not to create jobs. When we were going to school, it was like an insult for you to go to a technical school. But now those who went to technical schools are the ones employing people in the market. Right. For us who went for degrees in universities, we speak good English, but our degrees cannot create jobs. We have to look for jobs. Now the skills we have cannot match the needs of the market. And I'm also again happy that the Minister of Education and especially the President is creating an avenue to reskill and retool young people to be able to be absorbed in the market. Now this tragedy is not only in Uganda but in all sub-Saharan African countries. Through the education we inherited, through the settlement pattern, through the development pattern, and all that makes us congest in the center. Now that congestion in the center creates the second problem, which you are now calling political. Social dissatisfaction, social concern about the government or about the party in government. And that does not mean they are ideologically different from us, but they are socially in pain. And the pain, they transfer it to a government or to a party in government.
Right, right. Honourables, still staying on the matter of disconnect, as we look forward to the year 2026 where the general elections shall be held, what strategies is the NRM putting in place or planning to deal with the narrative that has been painted of NRM disconnecting with urban centers?
No, the strategy is what I'm now explaining to you. In his speeches, the president is always speaking, and this wealth creation tours is concluding, is always reminding young people that there is money in agriculture, there is money in farming, there is money in ICT, there is money in services. But we think there is money in government. People want to work in government. And government jobs are limited. Educated people think they should get jobs in the government. But they don't know that with your degree, with your education, you can make life outside government. Now that is something we're trying to help the young people understand. Because government jobs are very limited. In Uganda, of the 45 million people, those who are employed by government, those who draw their salaries from consolidated fund are less than 600,000. Now if you remove 45 million, if you remove 600,000 from 45 million, that means 44.4 million Ugandans don't get salaries from government. So if we cannot explain this to the population, where are these 44.4 million going to earn income to live? From private sector. But we cannot lock ourselves to talk about the 600,000 only who are in government. And when we look at that every graduate should get a job in government. There is only one permanent secretary at a time, there is one cow at a time, there is one member of parliament at a time, and they are now occupied, there are no vacancies. So where do we take others? We need to encourage our citizens to look into private sector. And that is what the president has been preaching for a long time.
Yes, Honourable, we rightly agree that there have been some measures that have been taken to ensure that there is a lot of jobs for the youth in urban centers, the presidential skilling programs as well. But now going back to the election in Kawempe, court having nullified Elias Narukora. Now, Honourable, there is a question that many, yesterday actually, members of the NRM party were wondering, is now Farida Nambi, in case we are to have a by-election, the official candidate, are you going to open up space again? Is it an automatic ticket for her?
The will decide and we shall communicate at the right time.
Okay, as you await for that communication, if we shall have as your official candidate. Now, also, Honorable, there is an issue of the youth. Much as we talk about positions that are ring-fenced for the youth, but there is this feeling that there are so much left out. More so recently, when you came up with new figures for someone to contest for a particular position, many felt that your party is somehow sidelining the youth in the running of the party affairs and only leaving them as spectators.
We have been, for your information, most of the positions in our internal structures have been taken over by young people. Yesterday I was in the north, I was interacting with the newly elected district chairman for West Acholi. All of them are new people, people who are below even 40 years. And it's an indicator that young people are coming to leadership. And it's like that up to the grassroots. From the village chairman, parish, sub-county, most of them are young people. They're not old people. So we are happy that very many young people joined the party leadership. And we are liberal in the way that the national constitution talks of a young person being that between 18 and 30 years. But in the party we have opened up to 35 to allow a transition between the young and adult. That is part of grooming. That is not just living being young, but we need to groom you up to when you get into an adult life. So that's why we have given that window of 5 years to allow the young people shade of being young and move into adulthood in the party and in preparation for the party activities. So we have been too liberal, and we created a whole league for the young people, which starts from village. Now this is specifically for young people. They only elect their leaders from the village up to the national level. And therefore we have young people elected in all the districts and branches of the party. So why are they complaining, and who is complaining?
Right. Honorable, with the court nullifying Nalukola's victory, do you think this poses a reflection on legal merit or rather political pressure?
Well, there was no political pressure. We just wanted you see, with the politics, there are all those. There are political things and there are legal issues. So politically we contested, and they claimed politically they won us. So we said, okay, you have won, but were they legally right? Your winning, was it legally right? And that was why we ran to the court. And the court confirmed that indeed the winning had some flaws. And therefore that was why the results were nullified. Now, as to whether this is a contestation between politics and legal, that one I leave it to the public to judge. But for us, we wanted something rightfully be done, and those who are dishonest should be ashamed in public, the way the court has ashamed the opposition.
Right. Just in case an independent inquiry was to be put in place for petitions such as this, would the NRM be 100%? Would the NRM be 100% in agreement with this?
We have nothing to worry, whether they put an independent inquiry, whether the juries from that inquiry comes from heaven. We know there's a problem. And they will confirm what we are talking about.
Now, Honorable, the judge was very clear. He talked about Elias Nalukola campaigning at 2 polling stations, we must say, within this area, and on the day of voting, which is an electoral offense. But many a times we've seen your very party, people being accused of bribery, campaigning beyond the stipulated time, and getting immunity as well. So how are you going to handle this? Could it be just that you've been very lucky that maybe people have not gone to court on these grounds?
The rule is, when you campaign with your party attires, with your t-shirts, with everything, and you leave this on the last day of campaign. On the day of voting, you are not supposed to go with your campaign materials at the polling station. That is a rule, which is given to every player and every political party. And there is no campaign on the voting day. There is even no campaign on that one day, the day you wait for voting. When the campaign stops, it stops. If they find you campaigning beyond the required date, you are penalized. And so for us as a party, we follow these rules to the dot. It is only our opponent, our comrades in opposition, who don't observe this. And to them, they think it is their right to even campaign on the voting day, to come with a music system, with the supporters to shout at the polling station. And when they're arrested, they start shouting because they are breaking the law. The law doesn't allow that. The other time when we were campaigning during COVID time, the rule was no public gathering. Because of COVID, please make sure you have town hall meetings, make sure you have very few people, and with the social distance observed, and all these SOPs that were there before during the COVID. But the opposition, especially NUP, when in public rallies and everything, they defied that. And that was why COVID increased abruptly, because of being indisciplined. So we are saying indiscipline cannot qualify you to be right. It cannot.
Right. There's a comment coming in from a viewer, and that is Lulaba Isaac, who says, "Hello, Uganda. I'm Isaac Lulaba in Bale City. Congratulations to the NRM party upon the court victory so far. To the Secretary General, thank you for endeavoring to do your party role with diligence. However, there's need for you leaders at a strategic level to integrate party activism with the revolutionary mission of the NRM. For instance, while we are focused on governance as the NRM, we are also interested in nourishing a strong and viable state. Otherwise, aluta continua."
Thank you for that comment. We are observing that, and we know we are on the right track.
Right.
Honorable Dong, very interesting indeed when you say that the NRM is on track and observing that. Now, you talked about issues regarding electoral procedures and laws that govern. We know we cannot talk about 100% leveled ground, but as we approach 2026, as the Secretary General of the mass party NRM, in your own assessment, do you see the ground ready and leveled for all political competitors to compete fairly and freely?
Before I talk for all political competitors, for NRM, we are very ready. When someone is not ready, it's not my problem. For us, we are ready because these were issues that were on the domains of elections. The timetable is clear, that after every 5 years, we go for national elections. For us, we are preparing for that. NRM is very ready. Even if they say tomorrow we nominate, we are ready. I don't know whether others are ready. That is their business. But NRM is extremely ready.
But there have been allegations. For example, these are some of the talks that are within political corridors of some political parties, that some are waiting for campaigns to be opened officially. Now, here you have a party chairperson who doubles as a president, which is not a crime. That is the choice of Ugandans. But traversing the entire country, preaching a gospel, and of course, many seeing that as a campaign methodology. Now, we recently had a bill, if assented to by the president, some political parties will miss out on some funding that maybe would help them as well to prepare for these elections. Is it leveled enough, Honorable?
There are two things in your question. The first one is the president moving around as the chairman of the party and also as the president of the country, which is very right, because as the chairman of the party, he chairs a party that has sponsored a manifesto for governance for 5 years. So it is his right to move to check to what extent has this manifesto been implemented. And secondly, he's also examining the policy that we passed on PDM. How have people benefited with the PDM? Because our focus as a party is to fight household poverty and to bring the rural population that were below the threshold to come up and be in a production. And therefore, when the president moves to check all this, is he moving as a government, as a head of government, and also as the chairman of the party? And I'm sure he has the right to do that. Secondly, the law that has just been passed, which in essence says those who don't belong to IPOT should not benefit from money from government. I think that is also a matter of discipline, because under the Multi-Party and Organization Act, there was a law which was passed that parties with representation in parliament should have their own organs called the IPOT. And under IPOT, which I chair, by the way, we have political parties with representation in parliament. Now, there are those with the representation in Parliament who have refused to be members of IPOD. And they are using government money to abuse government and to insult government. Now, that is indiscipline. You cannot have your cake and eat it. You either belong to this or you don't belong. Now, we are talking about discipline. We have been talking about discipline from the time we started this talk show. We in the political parties should discipline our members. And as participants in the democratic space, we also need to agree as colleagues. What are the do's and don'ts in the political parties? So that when we go to the public, we go to Ugandans, we go as disciplined leaders. I am not an enemy to Noob. Noob should not be my enemy. I am not an enemy to UPC, DP, or any other political party. We are comrades who are only disagreeing on how we govern our country. But we are not enemies. So under IPOD, we can even share notes that yes, on education, me in NRM, this is what we think. You, Noob, what do you think about education? It's like a peer forum where we learn from each other. They don't want that. Now, how can you be a leader of a widely diverse country and you don't have tolerance to talk to each other, to talk to other leaders? What kind of leader are you going to be? This country is big enough for everybody, and we need really to applaud President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for making this country accommodative for everybody, even to those who don't like him or don't like NRM. He is still allowing them to be free in this country.
Yes.
So if we can learn from elders like him, we were now the middle managers in these organizations. Why can we promote unity? Why can we promote cooperation? Why can we promote communication among us? And that is what that bill is trying to resolve. That you don't want to come to the negotiation table, you don't get the money. It is like a carrot and stick approach, which to me I think is good.
Right. Now, Honorable, thank you so much for giving us your time as we start to bring this to a close. In case of a by-election, what would you expect the Electoral Commission to do better?
In case of a by-election, I would expect, one, there will be enough deployment of security. Two, non-voters are not supposed to be near any polling station. Three, Electoral Commission officials should not participate wrongly in election matters, because some of them have also been accused. And then we don't expect to see the violence we went through.
Right. Thank you so much, Richard Todong, for being on the show.
God bless you all, and I wish all Ugandans a happy week.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. That's been Richard Todong, the Secretary General of the NRM party, and we've been throwing insight on the case of court nullifying Nalukola's victory and ordering the Electoral Commission to plan for another by-election. It's about 8 months until the general 2026 elections. And under the law, if it's 6 months to the general elections, no other elections should be held. Will the whole process, just in case Nalukola actually appeals this ruling, will the whole process create enough time for a by-election? We're watching the space, and however or whichever way everything unravels, we shall be proud to bring it to you here on UBC TV. For now, good morning, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local national government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story.